Like, love, loathe. So who do we like? Who do we love? And who did we loathe? Amal, we'll start with you in the middle. You liked the Eagles draft. Tuscaloosa, Pennsylvania.
Well, I think it's Athens, but we'll go with the Georgia guys.
That's right. I was thinking Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs was on my mind. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. Jalen Carter, obviously the first pick there, and a tremendous fit when you look at it from where he was projected to potentially go. Didn't have good workouts, had the off-field issues, and it was a negative impact for him. Then they get Nolan Smith, who didn't play down the stretch for this Georgia team. Tremendous talent as well. I thought he really fell probably to somewhere where he shouldn't have. But then again, certain positions are not valued as much, outside linebacker dropping off. But Nolan Smith can be a tremendous rusher for you. Think about this. You're going to have a bit of a microcosm of the Georgia defense. You're going to have 27% of the Dogs' defense for the Eagles there because you've got three guys with Jordan Davis, as I mentioned. So I really like what the Eagles did.
Yeah, Howie Roseman. You mentioned Athens, Pennsylvania. Howie Roseman, they build from the inside out. I just want to follow up with something you're talking about there. Think about it this way. That offensive line, which set records, defensive front for the Eagles set records for sacks, they got abused in the Super Bowl. They weren't good enough. Mahomes did what he wanted to do, and that offensive line held up. It's Kansas City. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, both on their last leg. They lost Hargraves, so they're building from the inside out. That's what smart teams do. Those two Giants team that beat the Patriots, they were built from the inside out. You build with those defensive guys up front. So I like what the Eagles did as well.
To me, they addressed what their needs were. The only other one you'd look at is running back, and I think you'll see them take a running back in the second or third round today.
Like the Lions should have.
And they may, as Dustin, you and I were talking, I didn't realize the rumor was legit, but I said the Eagles should call the Detroit Lions about DeAndre Swift, like right now.
It sounds like DeAndre Swift is on the block and that the Lions are fielding a lot of calls. I saw a report from Jeremy Fowler earlier today, and I think Ian Rappaport just tweeted out a video breaking it down. So, I mean, the Lions could be getting more draft picks, to go tonight and throughout the weekend for DeAndre Swift, who now is useless because I guess they're not going to use three running backs and maybe run the triple option this year? You never know. The key to the NFL is being ahead of trends. You never know. You never know.
You're up next.
All right.
You like what the Colts did.
Yeah, this is a really basic take, but it's very rare that you have the fourth pick in the draft and you potentially could have the best player in the draft. I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm not saying it's easily projectable. I'm just saying the upside on Anthony Richardson is so great that to get him at 4 is an incredible value. What he could potentially do if they follow the blueprint of what Lamar Jackson did early on, what RG3 did in his rookie year, what we saw from Justin Fields a year ago. If you use his legs, you run that Eagle-style offense, use him, use Jonathan Taylor, hopefully the offensive line comes back for Indy and is better than they were a year ago. All of a sudden, you raise the floor of the franchise. I don't know if you're winning Super Bowls. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. But I know if you use his legs out of the gates, you will raise the floor, and you potentially have the best player in the entire draft falling into your lap at number 4.
Patrick, I completely agree with Dustin on this one. I've been very critical of Anthony Richardson because I don't know if he's going to be able to develop into that passer. But in terms of what he could become, if he does, then you've hit a home run. I think it's, in terms of where he was selected, I think it's the right pick overall for the Indianapolis Colts. And the other thing is you're going to see a lot of not just DBs and safeties. You're going to have some linebackers who are making business decisions when it comes to Anthony Richardson and trying to tackle him.
Yeah, I like both your likes. I'm going to switch mine up. I told you Cardinals earlier today. Let me just switch it up. I'm going to go Ravens here. First off, they get the deal done with Lamar Jackson early in the day. And Amal, they got Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Now, you probably didn't see a lot of Zay Flowers because, who was throwing him the football? Exactly.
Phil Jerkovich.
That he got injured, right?
Yeah.
It was an antiquated offense. It always is at Boston College. And Zay Flowers stuck around. And you like that because he could have transferred and put up huge numbers. He's being compared to Hollywood Brown, but sturdier and thicker and won't go down on first contact. When you watch the tape of Zay Flowers, it pops. So now, not only did they yesterday, why I like what the Ravens did they extend Lamar Jackson, but they added weapons. The big questions were, did he have a complement of weapons the past, 3-4 years? And now the answer is he very much does as they continue to add around him with Zay Flowers.
Look, I'm a huge Zay Flowers guy. He is just a quick twitch guy. What an addition. You think about this. Odell Beckham Jr. with Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman is a former first-round pick out of Minnesota. Mark Andrews at the tight end position. Maybe Ronnie Stanley can play 4 games this year. And if he's able to do that with this running back tandem there, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, this team is not that far away. Now, they do need to get another defensive back. Humphrey's a lockdown corner on one side of the field. If they can get a little bit more help, you've got the best kicker for my money in the history of the National Football League. The Ravens, Patrick, I don't know where you come out on them in terms of big picture in the AFC. Everything appears to go through Kansas City still. But, man, Lamar and company, this could be a huge year for them.
Totally agree. My next one would be the Seahawks. And again, I misspoke a little bit earlier, but of course he was grabbed by the Seahawks early. A really good player. And what you noticed on television was when he came out in that black suit, everybody talked about he had that dog in him. He just had a presence about him, an aura about him. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba. Did you see, Amal, your volume was off, but they were talking to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and they had Smith and Jigba next to him. And those two turned and said, he's going to be the best receiver of the bunch. As soon as I heard that, I was like, I love what the Seahawks did. Remember when everybody said, oh, the Lions, the Cincinnati Bengals screwed up and took Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell? What? They literally took Chase and were in the Super Bowl 10 minutes later. Okay, you need a quarterback, you need a receiver, you need an edge, and you need a coach. That's pretty simple. Smith and Jigba and the cornerback that you can leave on an island, yes, please, Seahawks.
I would agree with you. Getting Witherspoon and JSN in the first round, this is a team to me that absolutely was a winner in this draft. There are several teams here. There are 3 teams that I thought did extremely well, and obviously the Seahawks being one of them. For me, the Houston Texans, getting C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, can't go wrong with those 2 guys. I love their picks.
Okay. Big guy, you want to tease your love?
My love has nothing to do with an NFL franchise.
Oh. Are you doing college franchise stick?
Guess you'll have to tune in and find out.
Yeah. I like it. Okay. And we still have Loathe. We saved Loathe for last because that's where the juicy stuff is. We're coming back. Like, love, loathe. My loathe is, again, first-round running backs. I hate to, and again, I'm annoying myself today how much I'm discussing this, so I'll just make this quick. Bijan Robinson, great. He could be awesome. It's not exactly what the Atlanta Falcons needed. Patterson, Algier was good. Whoever Caleb Huntley was good last year. The run game was not the issue. And one player isn't going to fix that for the Falcons. I think they grasped. And then, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs to the Lions at 12. There literally isn't a person on the planet that thinks that was a good pick. And if you
there is one. Mike Mayock.
Wait, in real life, or
no? I'm just projecting? He reached with everybody for the Raiders, so it was right in line with what he would have done.
No. The Lions universally across the board, F. If you want to grade it out, so
I will see you one Jahmyr Gibbs and raise you Cleveland Farrell at number 4.
Farrell, in real time, we said was disastrous. I would agree with you. However, drafting Jahmyr Gibbs when Jahmyr Gibbs is already on your team is a weird look.
That's a great line by you, and you're right. However, the one difference is we all actually believe Jahmyr Gibbs could be good. Nobody, not you, not Dustin, not I, thought that Cleveland Farrell was ever going to be good.
No, that's factual. But at least the Lions attacked the offseason in a bright way. They added Montgomery because they assumed Montgomery and Swift were going to be a good backfield together, then didn't get Witherspoon, freaked out, lost their brains, and drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Anyway, and now they're pretending like they did it on purpose. Sure you did. What are we, 12? Shut up. Amal, you don't like what the Lions did. Pray tell.
Well, I don't need to add anything to it. You've done a great job of it. So let's just move on to Dustin's. I think the Detroit Lions have been decimated enough, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think that is good radio instincts on your part, because I think I've piled on plenty. The big guy, your loathe would be what?
God, I hope we're not on in Detroit.
No. Detroit right now, I can assure you, I grew up there. It's way worse than what you've heard from me.
Real quick on my love, just want to touch on it. Bama, Georgia. The reason I put it in my love is because I love this rivalry, and I love the SEC, and I love the East versus the West of the SEC.
Okay.
You had 3 Alabama players go in the first round. You had 3 Georgia players go in the round. You got the greatest defense from the Georgia guys all going to the Eagles. You've got Nick Saban actively recruiting by making sure he's in the camera shots of Bryce Young and Will Anderson while they're getting picked. I love the Bama-Georgia rivalry being front stage in the first round of the draft.
Fair enough. However, I disagree with a couple things you said. Rivalry. These guys don't even play. The SEC is such a joke.
Oh, they play.
Really? Why don't you go back and look how many times they've played since 2010?
It's called in the SEC Championship.
How many times have they played? 3 times?
That's good enough for me.
Give me a break. LSU and Bama is a way better rivalry. And by the way, Ohio State had 3 guys go in the first round as well. Here's what I realized.
You would say that Alabama and Georgia are not currently in the midst of a rivalry to be the best team, not only in the SEC, but the nation.
I'm not saying they're not competing to be like when USC now in the next year when they're up and running. Are you going to constitute that as a rival between them and Alabama?
If it's consistently over a few years, for sure.
My point is they don't play enough. Look, the problem is Alabama's SEC East game is Tennessee and Georgia's is Auburn. But all I'm saying is, look, when you look at these programs, there were 5 programs that combined have 13 players drafted in the first round. And it's when you look at these teams, it's like this is where you should be going. Clemson, Iowa, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. All the players, all 31 players were selected from Power 5 schools. By the way, congratulations to the Pac-12. 3 players selected.
Okay. Your loathe would be whom, Dustin?
It would be broadcasters who pretended on the air yesterday. What do I mean by that? I mean, there was an edict passed down from league partners to the insiders and reporters from all those networks that work alongside the NFL to not ruin picks on Twitter by tweeting them out, which in theory is an awesome idea to make sure the broadcast has some genuine enthusiasm and excitement and surprise at the picks. However, you absolutely crush and decimate any of that fun when your broadcasters know the pick once the pick is in and start going, I think Peter Skoronski makes sense for the Tennessee Titans right here. And they all talk about it, and there's no buzz, there's no fun, there's no juice because they're pretending like they don't know Skoronski is going to the Titans. And that is an issue I had with last night's broadcast.
I would agree with you completely. The other thing I don't like is when they go to the player and the phone call comes in from the team. I would rather actually have the element where the player doesn't get called and there's a complete element of surprise.
Agree.
That would be so much better.
Totally agree with that. And just the faux celebrations in those stupid war rooms is really...
The Eagles all wearing suits.
You're literally a grown-up.
I forgot which team it was. They drafted somewhere in the late 20s, and they're hugging in the war room. I'm like, yes, you're so excited on getting Miles Murphy or one of these stiffs who may not be on the roster for a second contract. Let's hug it out.
The funny part is you could see, I think it was the Giants that were on essentially Star Wars. They were on a spaceship. Like everything was futuristic and progressive. And then they went to the Commander's War Room and it was like at a TGI Fridays.
Still writing on hand on a whiteboard.
By the way, that TGI Fridays blast was good.
Using their elbow to erase the board.
That's why they wore black. So you don't see the marks on the shirt.
You both sleep on the Jack Daniels chicken at TGI Fridays. It is incredible.
I don't. Is there a TGI Fridays in Vegas?
If there is, I will go tonight.
It is Friday.
TGI.
Old man joke.
It was. There you go. You're 100% right.
Finally, it only took 2 months. I got one.
No. My jokes lately have been subpar, to be fair. Okay, so for me was the Ravens. For Amal, it was the Eagles. For the big guy, the Colts. I love what the Seahawks did. Amal loved what the Texans did. And Dustin loves the Bama-Georgia rivalry. Loathe, running backs in the first round for me. All agreed with the Lions and the broadcast pretending. That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
You're right. And
he's right.
And social, it's just you have to stay off it. If you want to enjoy the draft, you can't be on social media. Social media is a cesspool.
The whole point is the moment of the pick. It's ruined if you read it first.
It's like growing up being like, told you so. Yeah, pretty good place.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.